Most high school catchers that are aiming for college baseball are focused on the wrong things. They think that they need more exposure. So things like showcases and emails and things like that to get in front of coaches. They think that they need better metrics. So things like velocity and pop time. And while both of those things are important, we need to start to think about catching at the high school level to catching in the college level as a list of constraints. And without fully understanding the first constraint, neither better metrics or better exposure are actually going to get us to that level that we are striving for. Your club team can run you anywhere from, let's say, 4 to 8K a year. Showcases, probably $400 on average per showcase. If your catcher does private lessons, those can be anywhere from, let's say, $100 an hour for a good catching coach. And then once we include travel and time off of work and all of the other expenses that come with chasing this college baseball dream, I think that it's safe to say that the average family probably spends about $12,000 a year simply trying to get their athlete to the college level. And if you aren't understanding the full development process for a catcher, you can end up spending 4 years chasing different showcases and teams and still not be considered recruitable in the eyes of a potential college coach. Development only moves as fast as the biggest thing that's holding you back. So if I could sit down with each catcher for just an hour, I wouldn't start with metrics. I wouldn't start with recruiting outreach. Instead, I would have them understand this theory of constraints graph that we've designed for our catchers inside of College Ready Catcher, essentially to help them understand where they are now and what needs to happen before they can start securing college commitments, and not only securing commitments, but actually developing into the type of player that can benefit a college program. Essentially, after joining our program, each catcher is going to start with an initial evaluation. So these are going to be things like receiving, blocking, throwing, and then all of our metrics, essentially to get an understanding of where that catcher is coming in at. From there, what we're going to go into is our goal setting. So basically, these catchers are going to identify where they are right now and then where they want to go. So for some guys, this could be their list of colleges that they want to attend, or the type of catcher that they want to turn themselves into. So really the big idea here is we're taking the initial evaluation of each player and weighing that against the goals that they're laying out for themselves in order to understand the path for them to get there. So now the first constraint that we are going to attack is this first question right here. Are your daily habits consistent supporting college level development? So most of the time, the answer is going to be no. Because if a catcher tells us, hey, this is where I am right now and I want to go play at this school, chances are they're not living exactly how that catcher should live right now. And that's going to be the biggest constraint for us to attack. So we have our catchers go through a lot of different exercises. Essentially, the whole picture of it is understanding the life that a college catcher needs to live, and then the accountability and the routines and how to build that into what they're doing. So this can be things not only along the lines of skill training, but also handling a calendar, handling a diet, handling recovery and sleep. And the ultimate goal is to get ourselves 95% of the way optimized to living in accordance with our goals. So that is going to be the first constraint that we attack, because once we get this dialed in, now the recruiting, the exposure, all of these things become very easy when we are actually on the proper development path. And this is always going to be a work in progress, right? We start very small and then we ramp our catchers up. But once we can agree that our catchers' daily habits are consistently supporting college level development and they have a good understanding of what that looks like, then we're going to start working into the next constraint to essentially do your fundamentals hold up when the game speeds up. So a lot of catchers will look good in a showcase. They'll look good off of the machine with receiving. But a lot of times when these guys are in game, these skills are not holding up as well as they should. And if a college coach is going to come out and see us play, we need to display very consistent fundamentals in game, because that's all that ultimately matters. So we have different modules for our guys, like stances, receiving accelerators, blocking accelerators, pop time development, things like that, just to make sure that we have a really solid baseline to perform in games. Once that's achieved, the next thing we're going to ask is, are you ready to see if your skills actually translate to the next level? Do you believe that you are ready to start the recruiting process? If you say yes and we say yes, then we're going to move into our targeted school list, our recruiting videos, and then some initial outreach for our athletes. Once that initial outreach is done, we're going to start to weigh the responses we're getting from schools, if any. And then we want to ask ourselves this question right here, which is, are you on track to add value to a college program? So if the answer is no, and realistically, the answer to that question is going to be a mixture of yes and no, but we want to identify what are the reasons that maybe these coaches are not getting back to us or showing interest in us. And now that we have an understanding of the level that we want to play at compared to where we stand right now, which is what we got when we came into this program, we can start to identify the gaps and start to fill those things in with things like putting on weight, year-round strength training, arm strength development, 60-yard dash, another pop time program, and then a lot of the game sense stuff like winning more games, how to secure a starting spot, and how to train year-round. Essentially, the whole idea here is, what is the long-term development that needs to take place for me to be considered a player that can add value to a college program? Because once the answer to that question is undoubtedly yes, now we're going to start getting interest from the schools that we want to play for. And on this next step of the constraint, if we're getting some interest, but we're not actually getting interest from the schools that we want to play for, that's when we're going to go ahead and reassess physical skills. We're going to go into some heavier targeted outreach. We're going to start posting stuff on Twitter, YouTube, and start targeting the camps and the showcases that we're going to in an attempt to continue developing into a player that is considered valuable to a college team. So if we can do all of these things successfully, right? And when I say successfully, leaving it to the point where it is undoubtedly true that we would add value to the college program that we want to play for, that's when we're going to start securing our offers. And if we're not securing offers, we're ultimately going to go back to this question, which is, are you on track to add value to a college program? And we're always going to be reassessing this to make sure that our athletes are continuing to develop until ultimately that offer is secured and the commitment is made. And then you get a cool Division I graphic from Coach Nick. So that's the process that we use here at Pro Point Catching. And it's really important for you guys to understand, instead of chasing exposure in camps and metrics, understanding the full development process of a catcher that wants to go from playing in high school to actually benefiting a college program. Because once you understand what these college programs are actually looking for, the process is much smoother. You won't feel like you're spinning your wheels as much. And ultimately, you can prevent yourself from wasting money on things that don't matter yet or things that maybe matter in the wrong order. So if this is something you want help with, we have a link to our program in the description of this video. You can go ahead and check it out. And it's essentially going to tell you how to schedule a call with us if this is something you want to explore further.